So yeah, a few days ago I came across this article on Graphene OS. It is a sort of custom ROM for smartphones or Android. So do you have any idea about what custom ROM is, or have you heard of it before?
No, I haven't heard of this.
So basically, from my understanding, custom ROMs are, so Android is open source. So
Yes.
anyone can get the source code and create their own operating systems on top of it. So
Okay.
basically, that is basically what custom ROM is. So you take the underlying open source code of Android, then you install that on your phone. So then that becomes your custom ROM. And I think the custom ROM scene was more active few years back. I remember 5, 6 years ago, I also used to install a lot of custom ROMs. It was very easy to get multiple different variations of custom ROMs for many different devices, and because it is a community driven thing, so it's individual developers or hobbies, they are taking the source code and creating their uh, uh, own operating system based on the AOS. It's called the AOSP, the Android Open Source Program, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, so why I think this is interesting is because, so we talk about big tech and how they are so much, basically their agenda is to get data from us for whatever reason, for to sell us ads or whatever. So they are essentially a very uh, uh, data logging company. They track everything about us. So if you when you're using Android in the background, it is taking so many, it's tracking so many of our data. We're not even aware of them. So it will ask you for your permission, of course, but we most of the time will blindly allow it. And it is essential also for many of the services to work. So we are basically paying for the convenience by our privacy. In and That is not a feature of Android per se. That is the a condition of the Google services. If you want to use the Google services, you need to give us these permissions. But the Android as a base does not really require that. So if you get AOSP, then you can separate the Google services from the Android operating system. So this one of this example is Graphene OS. So it is sort of let's just go through what is written here. It is a like an open source operating system. It is designed with the idea of providing users with the highest level of privacy and security, and based on the AOSP. And it completely eliminates the need of integrating with the Google services. So at the system level, so you can use the Android operating system without the necessity of having Google services. So let's see what it says. The system is distinguished by advanced hardening of the kernel and key components, which minimizes vulnerability to hacking attacks and exploits. So yeah, so if you want to use the certain services that are maybe mandatory in day-to-day life, you can have a sandbox environment within the OS in which you can have the Google services. So only within that virtual environment the Google services is installed, beyond which it does not have any other access. And that is possible with these kind of custom ROMs. But one kind of the irony of this thing is that many of the times these kind of custom ROMs are first supported only on Google phones. So you need to have the Google Pixel devices. There are some hardware limitations. I don't exactly understand. The chip has to be correct, some architecture things and stuff. And because of that, most of the time, this kind of custom ROMs will start with support from Google. So in a way, we are using Google itself to escape from Google services. But yeah, uh, here he goes through some technical details of how to exactly install and stuff. Uh, One thing I suppose it is somewhat technical. I also don't understand, but maybe it is important to discuss this is there is something called a bootloader in any device. So before the operating system is started, there is a boot drive basically that is started before anything in the machine starts, and that will hold all the essential things that is necessary for the system to start. In order to install this kind of custom ROMs, you have to unlock the bootloader. And it used to be very simple to unlock bootloader depending on your manufacturer of the smartphone. Nowadays, it has become complicated. They will give security reasons why they have made it complicated. But it is essential that you have an unlocked bootloader, so you can flash the kernel and stuff. Uh, the thing with Graphene OS is, or the thing with unlocking bootloader is, if you don't know what you're doing, you are essentially opening yourself up to any kind of cybersecurity hacks and stuff, because essentially you're giving open reign to the core of your system. So, but from what I know, other custom ROMs does not give you the ability to relock the bootloader. This one actually gives you the ability to relock the bootloader itself. So once you have the Graphene OS, you can close the access once again. So there,
So what does relog? What does relog mean?
I am also not exactly sure, but basically once you unlock the bootloader, your device has an unlocked bootloader from the at the kernel level.
Okay.
Meaning if someone has got access to your phone, I think you still need physical access to the phone, but if someone has the physical access to your phone, it can access your kernel systems. And kernel is like the interface between the hardware and the software. And that is like a critical system that anyone should not have access to. But in order to flash this kind of operating system, you're basically wiping out the operating system from the hardware and installing a new operating system, right? So that is, you're making changes at the kernel level. So you require an unlocked bootloader, and once it is unlocked, I think it is not possible, or it is not as easy to close it again. But here they are providing the access, the option to close it again. So it becomes a normal phone to use, is what my understanding is. Could be wrong. Uh, but anyways, yeah. So he's also talking about the compromise between convenience and privacy. If we want the most convenience experience, it is inevitable that we will have to allow access, or we have to agree to all the Google services. In within that also we have some options to like disable, personalize some location tracking and whatever. But even if we disable those, so many of the others kind of features like find my phone, etc., etc., will not work. So essentially, you are trading your privacy for convenience. And then he also goes to talk about, because many people do not think so hard about what exactly we are permissions we are giving. When you have this kind of granular access to decide which app or which applications, which software, and what permission you want to give to them, you will come to see the so many of the things that we are just giving control over without really thinking about it. He actually does not give a lot of examples here, but if you think about it, whenever an app is installed, you can go to the app settings and check permissions. You will have like at least 15, 20 permissions it already has. And you may not even know what all of those mean. And in here you have the decision to basically fine tune and choose exactly which permissions you want to provide and stuff. He's also talking about adding like you will have the option to have additional user profile, but I think it is a feature in many normal Android phones as well. But let's see. Yeah, yeah. So since this is Android for Android skin without the Google service, you will have to install the apps from somewhere. So they provide alternate Play Store also. One of it is called Obtainium. I think it is like a fork or clone of Google Play Store itself, where instead of you having to sign in yourself, they will do a dummy sign in kind of. So in the backend, it is running in the cloud, or I don't exactly know the mechanisms, but it will trick the Google Play services to think that you have a account and you can install the app. So in that way, you will be getting all the authentic apps, but without having to sign into the Play Store. And he mentions a lot of different apps he uses. He is also giving some alternative app store also. Yeah. So here he is mentioning some things about all the full control over the app permission. Yeah, one example he gave about is the internet access. So many of the apps do not really require internet access, but they are still having internet access. For example, the calculator. I don't know if he mentions calculator here or not, but I'm just using it as an example. That is an app that does not really require any internet connection. So why does it have permission to use the internet? So these are like small examples. At the end of the day, these things are like very niche and nitpicking. So mostly, I'm not saying they are trying to scam us or anything, but if someone is extra aware or hyper aware of their privacy, they will go through the pain of deciding exactly which permission they want to give and which service or convenience they want to give up for their privacy. Yeah, so what else? Yeah, so there's not much else here, but this I got this article is from Hacker, what is it called? Hacker News or Hacker Rank? Not Hacker Rank, Hacker News. So there's a lot of comments as well. So I
Oh,
summarized some of them to see what people are saying about this. And so custom ROMs are nothing new, but some of the problems I think are still persisting. One of them is regarding banking apps. So since banking apps are more, it's related to your finances, they have very strict security norms, I guess you could say. So if they
mm,
find that the hardware is lacking in some security measures, then I think they do a kernel level check or whatever behind the scenes it is. It will detect that it does not have official Android and it will refuse to install, or even if it installs, it will refuse to open. So if you are, and it's not all apps, there are workarounds and different things you can do, but it's not a seamless experience. You have to check whether your bank app is working or not, because in my phone also I have some, not a custom ROM, but I have certain apps that require a root access. So there's this thing called root access also in Android phones, which requires, I don't know if you know about rooting. This is also similar to this. Also, you're basically unlocking the bootloader, gaining kernel level access. If you have those kind of things, the banking app will see that as a violation of security and it will refuse to work. So that is one case you have to keep in mind. And yeah, others are also mentioning the irony of having to first try it on a Pixel phone. So uh, you are still bound to give your money to Google somewhere or the other. And yeah, but mostly people are saying uh, it is an okay in the term. I mean, it is usable for a day-to-day need. There are some workarounds to use certain apps, but if you are how should I say it? If you really have the need to have ownership of your privacy, you can go through this particular pain and still more or less a convenient experience. And let's see. Yeah, one of the um, pain points about these kind of custom ROMs are is these are community driven. So, like I mentioned in the past, there were a lot of different custom ROMs from a few different developers, but in 2, 3, 4 years time, they shut down either because because there's not really a lot of way to make money out of this. This is not a monetizable hobby or work to do. You're taking an open source code and making an OS out of it. You cannot ask the people to pay for that OS. People are not going to do that. So there's no clear way of monetization here. So of course, like here also they have mentioned supporting the Graphene OS and stuff. So if you really like this project and want it to continue, you as a individual have to donate, and it's not like a subscription or anything. It's up to you how much you donate, and it's up to the developer to decide if this much amount of donation is enough or not. They can quit at any time, and then the project is done. So just like that, so many other previous custom ROM projects have closed down. So this I don't know the community aspect of it, how in the long term how sustainable this is going to be, because yeah, ultimately it comes down to making money. Even if you the reason Google has all of these things is not because they're like evil in the sense they want to extract maximum profit, and so they have found these different kinds of avenues to do that by getting our data, by getting uh, giving these Google services in return in exchange for our data and stuff. And this kind of projects can only continue if people are actively donating to this kind of to keep this project alive and running. Because and every year new Android version is going to come. Every year new AOSP open source code will going to change some way or the other. Then they have to again get that open source update there, whatever the thing is. There will be so they are still relying on Google in a sense, because Google will be pushing the AOSP version every year. Some developer has to get that AOSP latest version, see what changes have been made. This is a lot of effort, so it cannot just be a hobby, and it can be a hobby for a few years or so. It cannot be a full-time career as such. And if you want to make it a full-time career, it will has to become a business. If it becomes a business, you will have to think about monetizing it. And the only avenues of monetizing is whatever Google and the other big tech is doing. So you ultimately will end up becoming the same. So yeah, that nothing more much else to add here. Any thoughts you have?
I think broadly two categories of thoughts comes here from. One is from the technological aspects, one is from the economical point of view. So from the technological, what can I say? Uh, so I was about to ask de-Googling, but you already mentioned. So that is one thing that's already done. So so broadly, this kind of initiatives are, so from what I understand, is they're trying not to get monetized or not to get used as a uh, like there's this saying like if you do not pay for something, then you are the product or something like that.
Yeah,
So like people are selling ads to you and so on. So these are the different ways in which you can that like the attempt is to not get access, like not allow those companies to get access to information which can then they use for any kind of purposes. So that's the motivating factor, I would believe. That's what they're doing.
mm,
So and I personally I have not done it at an operating system level. So like I use the normal Android, but for YouTube I have definitely used I use YouTube Advanced, and there are different subcat. There are many kinds of revans, and many other forms are there. So I use that. So for this, so because one of the reasons things about YouTube is that its recommendation algorithms is very addictive. So it will keep you there for hours. For desktop, I have figured it out a long time ago, maybe about 4 or 5 years it's been now. There is this blocker where you can reduce the like you can remove the home feed. So now YouTube is now like the Google home tab. Like there in normal Google, you have this Google and a search bar. That's it. So for me, desktop YouTube is the same. Like there's a search bar and that's it. Whatever I search, that's what I get. There's no recommendation and so on. But for phone, for many years it was the same thing. Uh, the the normal YouTube with all its feed and so on. But and even though I knew about revenge, but I did not know about the advanced things that you could do with revenge. But I think over the past few months, like I would say 4, 5, 3, 4 months maybe, I learned more about how to customize through those things. So after learning about this, now my YouTube, my like phone YouTube is also very customized. So it is also like blank, completely blank. Only if you want to, there is no home tab. So there's no home feed, and everything is like it is now just a search bar. If I want to search something, and that's it. And also like everything is there. So what has happened is that now even if they're collecting data, they cannot manipulate what I see. So they cannot manipulate my uh, anything by showing me suggested videos or something. It's completely up to me what I want to see or not. So that is one kind of way that uh, I'm taking control. I think depending on how much problematic people think, they will go even further. Like why just one app? Why not the whole operating system? So I think that's what Graphene OS is doing. So what is your experience with other social medias, algorithms, and YouTube's? How do you feel about them?
Mm, I think YouTube algorithm definitely is addictive, and it is also like it learns about your patterns really well. So the kind of videos it will recommend you at night is very different from what it will recommend you in the morning and during the
Yeah,
day. So it has it understands your patterns really well. Uh, and if you can, if you are mindful of it, it can be quite useful to discover new kinds of content or new channels and whatnot. So in that way, it is quite useful. But the catch is you have to be mindful. If you just for a split second you let yourself just scroll, then you will not know when 1 hour has passed. So that awareness should be there, and it applies to all the other social medias as well. But I personally do not. I have an Instagram account, but I rarely ever open it. I don't find it interesting at all. X is something I do for scroll through sometimes because I find a lot of interesting. Sometimes conversation does happen there, but it can be polarizing. Like some people are not like some posts are just statements that are like it is meant to incite uh, views and stuff,
reactions.
reactions.
Yes, yes.
So you once you understand the pattern of acts, you have to be mindful of those kind of posts and only go through it from the mindset of understanding what people are talking about. What is mostly nowadays, it's mostly AI posts and stuff. So in that way, and I also do limit myself, so I don't spend hours scrolling through X. Also, I think it is useless. So if I scroll through for 5 minutes, and within that 5 minutes, whatever interesting post I will get, I will bookmark them, and later on I will go through it in detail. So that is my pattern of using X. And Reddit I find to be a unique uh, social media amongst all the social media because it does not have that kind of algorithmic feed. So whatever subreddit you are subscribed to, it will only give you that. There is this popular tab and whatever, but that is not the main tab. Whenever you open Reddit, it is whatever you have subscribed to or whatever you have, I don't know what it's called, joined.
Yes, yes,
So if you can find, and it is more community driven. There's no concept of influencer and such in Reddit. Some Reddit handles do become famous within their subreddits, but that is just a natural. Like I think that is somewhat organic. Like if someone is posting a lot of things and someone is posting high quality content within a subreddit, it is an automatic that people will look for his content. But otherwise, it's a more community driven social media compared to the others. It's not exactly mindless scrolling, although it can become that. But there is more community aspect to Reddit, and yeah, I don't know any other social medias that I use or anyone else is using. Threads is also a thing, but I don't know how many people are using Threads or what the user count is for that. And Facebook, I think it has become. I have not. I don't know anyone in person using Facebook nowadays. But I
Yeah,
think the user count is still 2 billion or so, at least. But I don't know if those are active users or not.
yeah. Can you search like Instagram versus Facebook daily active user or monthly active? Just daily active users. Because like there are users, but their age group is different now. Like the older ones use Facebook compared to this.
Yeah. And Snapchat is also somewhat used, I think, in somewhat younger than us.
Yes. Why is it taking so much time?
Sure.
Refresh it again.
Mhm.
The model you selected is Pro. Like I think the fast is should be enough. Sort of-
Yes, I think Facebook Marketplace is a big thing, and so that is keeping it more active.
Yes. So recently saw a infographic, maybe in X. There they were showing the most top 10 most used app by different age categories. The number one rank was common across all the different platforms. Which app do you think it is?
ChatGPT.
No, it's YouTube.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yes, yeah.
That was YouTube. But again, in that infographic itself, I saw Facebook was I think so in the second or third place among the older ones. So as it was like a sloping graph, like the younger generation, it was very low ranked, but it was still in the top 10. It was low ranked.
Mhm.
Uh, on the other hand, I think for the younger generation, it was mostly TikTok and less for the older ones. It was for the US, I think so, the data. So that's why TikTok is there.
Mhm.
That was the technological part. And from the economic part, so we talked about how to make money by doing those kind of things. So like as we know that this whole uh, business model is capitalistic in nature. So that is the only way to like try to make like if you want to make money, you need to do whatever the existing system is, like try to sell something and so on. And again, the capitalistic model by definition is not bad. It needs like it promotes competition, but the system that actually exists, it's not capitalism in its like true form. It's a very modified version, which is very much skews towards like favors the companies who have more power. Because like in theory, capitalism means like you have equal competition over everything. But like if you are so powerful and you have so much control over like you can influence the government to make policies favor your company and so on. So that is the exact opposite of what is happening. So it's like communism, but for the rich. I think that's what they're saying. Like these people I would say they criticize communism like communism, socialism. They do not promote competition and so on and like this. But this like that normally what we taught say as communism or like socialism, it's for the common people. But the system that is right now, I think at least probably in USA, that is socialism for the bigger companies because definitely I think in every like every now and then you'll see all those leaders of of those companies having photographs with this president and so on. So what does that mean? Like they are definitely being favored by those kind of companies. So that is not the plain definition of capitalism. So I think I'm going a bit out of the topic, but the point is like how do you make money out of doing social like this kind of projects like community projects? So yes. That's just
Yeah,
something. Even I'm not sure how to like make it sustainable, this kind of projects. But
yeah.
I think yes. Do you have anything to say?
No, I was also thinking about the same point you mentioned just now, that if you want to make money, you have to be capitalistic. You need to have the capitalistic mindset. But if your intention is not to make money, but in a way serve the society with some kind of product you're making, and that is not exactly profitable, you cannot sustain it. Even though your intentions are different from making money, but if you don't also think of making money, that useful product will not be able to exist, because it'll so this capitalist mindset is okay for making money, but if you are purely, or maybe your main goal is it not is it's not to make money, you are still going to lose, because yes, you cannot sustain that kind of uh, project.
Yes.
So the
Like
only like similar, it will be similar to like Patreon and other kinds of community driven subscription
yes,
methods. So if people willingly, basically they're directly giving money to you because they liked your product. It basically is exchange of service. So it is that, but enough people has to. agree that your product is worth enough to keep going, only then they will continue. Actually, this made me interested to know, like, are there like projects that has been running for a long time, that is running on this kind of community supported monetization systems? Yeah, that is, I think, it would be interesting
Yes.
to look at.
Yes, even I am more curious about how to create such kind of business model. So again, I like this is one thing. Like, so I'm interested in like business is one thing. Like I think even in a socialist community, businesses should be there in the way that it exists because I think money is almost like in physics what energy is, money is in the social world. Like there needs to be because what is money? It is like in a way how you allocate resources. So there are only finite resources for in this world. Like if you have suppose then currently think about the memory shortage and everything. So there are only finite memories there. Where is this memory going to go? Wherever there's the highest demand and so on. So money is kind of helps allocate resources. So again, like I don't have enough understanding. Like the whole for a single business, it is simpler to understand. Okay, it's trying to make money, but overall, how the whole like interconnected web of things it is. Like I want to like be more sure. Like, is there some way to make businesses come out of this pro like how is it called? Cannibalistic or like this kind of cancerous attitude. Like we have to get more profit, 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 only profit, like at the cost of destroying everything. Is this the only way to create new products, or is there something alternative? So, because the narrative right now is very much about uh, have like the capitalist kind of thing, which there is a whole history behind it. Previously, I told that I should be talking about this. How much time is there? Less
One
than
minute.
10? Okay. So I think it's no point like even I'm not very clear what to say, but maybe in the future I'll talk about those kind of things, the economic side of things.
Then I think that's it for this topic.
Yes.